cave. The man cave. Did a little shuffling of items. Still have the bear picture up, but I put the mask back on the wall. It was taken down earlier during the construction process on the other side of the wall. And it's been sitting on the floor. I don't think that's a good place for it, so I threw it back on the wall here for all to see and appreciate. Now, I got voices. One quick thought I'm going to pass on. I saw a quick blurb of an interview, I think it was Mel Gibson, and he said that. He looked into it, and apparently the #1 human fear, when people were asked about their #1 fear, get this one. This ties right in with this subject and obviously more in the planet. Public humiliation was found to be the #1 human fear. Sad. That's so sad. I wonder why. I wonder why we were created with that flaw. Why do you think? That flaw, that character flaw, obviously makes humans very, very easier to control. Right? Wow, what a characteristic. I think for any animal trainer of any herd of animal, any animal species, if they could figure out something like that, obviously I'd go straight into their training programs, right? Right? Public humiliation, #1 fear of humans on average. Don't be afraid, you guys. Don't be afraid of public humiliation. Humiliation, sorry. I'm so unfamiliar with that word, I can't even say it properly. But there you go. There's something to chew on. And pass on. And see how much that affects you. And I'll guarantee you it affects the majority of us. Now, let's go. Let's get into this. It's early in the morning. No more coffee. Doesn't seem to be doing anything to me so far. Sarah claims to get a headache or something from her lack of caffeine, but it's just a habit for me. Wake up in the morning and have a coffee. Now I'm waking up in the morning. Still seem the same. Let's see if I can babble just as much. I'll bet you I can. This is titled Sending All My Pieces to Help. Right on. Very generous. Hello, my name is Fred France from Illinois. I'm 37 years old. My passion is consciousness, dimensions, and reality. Alright, if that is your passion, I'm going to suspect that you are very thorough in this topic. My puzzle started at around 16 years old. This is when I dropped out from school. I was constantly seeing UFOs. I want to know why nobody believed in UFOs, because I'd seen them nightly. I want to know who knew about these, what these were, and why I'm being left out. This is the beginning of my puzzle pieces that fit into a lot of puzzles. Nightly, I would see a star sitting for up to an hour. It would descend slowly. Sorry, a little typo there. It would descend slowly just past the end of my block. There's a 100-foot hill that overlooked the Illinois River, the interstate bridge, and open fields. At the far horizon, roughly 6 miles from where we'd sit, was the Peoria Greater International Airport, which has a military base. This was nightly for months. I'd see it from my porch, walk down the road, and it would sit silently, directly across from me and / or whatever walked down there. My girlfriend and I decided it has to be military. It goes over the airport. There's no way they don't see it. Well, about 2 years goes by. This thing comes and goes, monthly it seems. My friend and I walked down when we seen it descend, but this time it was different. It was just after sunset, so becoming dark. This craft stopped descending way higher than usual. Also farther towards the Peoria to our right. After 10 or 12 minutes, the airport sent up a full-size commercial airliner, which flew over us extremely close. Did a big circle between us and the craft, looked to be roughly 80 to 100 feet away from it. Also completely level with this thing, then the plane landed. He and I were ecstatic because they didn't know what this was. Then about 5 minutes after the plane landed, another airliner was sent up. We seen it fly up from the airport, start banking left, and coming right towards us. circling in the same trajectory as the last one. Then it landed at the airport. These are big planes. This orb, light, whatever, didn't move. 5 minutes later, another plane set up, same kind, same course, but when the plane had almost made it to being right in front of our vision, the orb shot over towards the plane, lit almost the entire plane up with light, and for lack of a better explanation, fell in on itself. We thought it blew the plane up. It was so quick. It moved probably a quarter mile in a fraction of a second, lit the plane up when it flew feet away from it, stopped, and a split second later fell in on itself. It just ceased to be there any longer. Well, I have you here in my experience. I realized years later that it bent the fabric of space, made a portal, wormhole, and it was outside of my visual spectrum. Last year I was sitting at a four-way stop and took a picture of the moon and captured a donut in the sky. It wasn't there in my visual spectrum. Trust my, it's Blanton. Typos. I'll include the picture. Okay, trust me, you probably meant trust me, it's blatant. I'll include the picture. I'm still plagued with seeing spacecraft. Traversing dimensions, experiencing reality is what I thrive for. My two sons, 6 to 9 years, are brilliant. Old are brilliant, sorry. Sorry you guys, let me get going here again. My two sons, 6 and 9 years old, are brilliant. They constantly ask me questions that push me or guide me to guide us all. People, if you love your kids, do not ever shut them down. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Your boat is in your mind. Your stream is in time, and your reality is a perspective based upon where you are or when you are, not your body. I believe your body is on Earth. Your consciousness, all consciousness is a dimension, and it has to be. This isn't something you see, but are. I think scientists have dimensions backwards. Completely. First dimension is our universe. That holds all laws of physics we are bound to. The second dimension, which you actually see as flat, this is the fabric of space. You only see shadows, colors, and angles to perceive depth. You don't see in 3D. If you did, you'd see everything the object is, all the sides at one time. Go look at a child's viewfinder. The disc is completely flat, the pictures are flat. Once you insert it into the goggles and peer through, you know there is depth. The third dimension is all matter. It is a plane that has to exist. It can be changed, but never created or destroyed. It doesn't matter if it's your body or a rock. As long as those atoms are here, that's all that matters. It sits on the fabric of space. I think the fourth dimension is consciousness. It's what sits inside the matter. If the earth is alive, you are alive. Sorry, if the earth is alive, if you are alive, who's to say a robot isn't? Artificial intelligence? It can learn millions of times faster than our biological intelligence, but we're superior. Ha, okay. The fourth dimension is a right angle of a right angle of a right angle of up or down. We don't have this direction, but our consciousness does, i.e. sixth sense. The way it seems to me is consciousness is a plane that has to be. Doesn't matter if you're a deer or a superior being, whatever consciousness has to be. This actually helps me explain mind speak. The fifth dimension is information. It's what makes up the transmission and receiving of consciousness, and where to and how to decipher it. Now another puzzle piece. I heard a viewer, an indigenous elder, say that Sasquatch sees the eyes of the forest creatures. Excuse me. Well, that's very plausible to me, because if something could tap into their consciousness enough to intercept the receiving and transmission of information, then they could mind speak. Years ago, before I connected all these dots, I was mountain biking on Devil's Cliff, a couple miles from my house in the forest, when a picture, a thought that wasn't mine, was put into my head. It was of a cougar. This wasn't my thought. I was focused on the awesome hill and tree roots I was avoiding. Then, bam! An image and a feeling of imminent danger. I was going to be attacked. I locked my tires up, looked around, but I couldn't shake the image of this cougar standing sideways. And the feeling of fear I've never felt before. I'd like to know if the mind speak or telepathic messages that everyone else has had were in a linear progression. Did the words come to them as words or an information dump? Something or someone interdimensional. Because mine was immediate information. Scared, with a picture put in front of all my other thoughts, like the trees I'm avoiding, the speed I'm maintaining, my balance. It wasn't my thought. I didn't learn till years later the forest people could do this. Actually, Steve, I beg your pardon, but years ago when you said Mr. Macaroni passed, you had a hell of an experience when it happened. And I'm sure it's completely relevant with this topic. If it isn't too much to ask, would you elaborate? Just a quick on that one. So, yeah, my having to get my best friend basically end his life by my choice. I guess his too combined, right? But it was the most brutal thing I've ever had to do. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sit there and watch him get dragged into that hole with a backhoe and watch him go down. So we said our goodbyes, and then see, I'm trying to get emotional about this. It still kills. And then I went home, and Sarah's giving me a haircut. And sitting there, and it was 6:45 or 5:45 or 6:45. I forget it's written down. Either way, and all of a sudden I had like it was almost like an electricity went through my body and kind of made me go like that. And I immediately broke down, sobbing my brains out. And I knew he'd passed right then. And then it was about half an hour later, my vet and friend texted me and said everything went smooth. And I said, what time did it go down? And it was the exact same time that happened to me. So there you go. Take from it that way you will leave it, but that happened. Now, my next first-hand experience is with my best friend. He thinks a lot like me. We resonate at similar frequencies, I believe. So, being a high school dropout, working shit jobs, I was broke, so was he. I walked to his house, went inside, started doing his dishes because he was a father before me. He was dealing with his daughter. I said, hey, Tony, I woke up pissed off this morning. He said, oh yeah? I said, yeah. I had a dream we found a bunch of money while we were walking up the road. He said, what? So did I. He said, was it in a sewer grate? I said, yeah, under the leaves by the church. We finished each other's details and sentences. What? That's the first and only time that's happened to me. He and I both dreamt on the same night of walking together up a back road, midday, cloudy, rainy, and finding a bag of money under leaves in a sewer grate by the church. I hope you guys went running over there when it started to rain. This single-handedly forced me to think harder. How could this happen? I believe he and I astral projected subconsciously, and our consciousness coalesced to a different reality. There's only one way this could happen. This is if we are all a shared consciousness. You, the bugs, the Sasquatch, the animals, all share a unified consciousness. After this, maybe a year or longer, while living with my ex and first son, Brutus, out in the sticks, where our trailer would get hit nightly. I was watching a medium on YouTube about an entity that was haunting this family for generations. She said it was a 1,000-year-old entity, and it's been after this family and nobody else. The lady was scoffing at it, and damn it, I believe anything like this because I want to be believed. Well, time is relative. 1,000 years is a blink on another planet, or maybe a consciousness that can change bodies, but the poltergeist wasn't in our realm of reality. How was it haunting this family for apparently almost 100 years? Well, I think I figured it out, but I have to start here. If I could manipulate the matter of a boulder and change its subatomic particles, atoms, to your exact chemical makeup, I could make you from enough mass. It's fact. All matter can be changed but not destroyed or created. Excuse me. So what's the difference between a brain, a body, and body manipulated to be you? The brain wouldn't be conscious, would it? Would you just start breathing? No. The answer is DNA. Is the key to everything on this third dimensional plane. I believe that family bloodline is wrong. It's the family genetic code that this entity is involved with. Here's examples. My mother said trucking is in my blood. My grandmother did it, my father did it, my mother did it. I know I can't parallel park an 18-wheeler big rig right now, never having driven one. I inherited memories that were imprinted in their DNA. Ever heard of twins dying at the same time, or knowing something has happened to the other twin? They share an exact strand of DNA. DNA can carry information, and because of this, I believe this is the antenna between consciousness being transmitted and received. Ever hear of a little kid saying they've lived a past life, or perhaps what is the significance of our DNA being altered thousands of years ago? Well, let's say, hypothetically, aliens altered our genetics so they can interrupt the transmission and receiving of information. That'd almost be like seeing through our eyes. It'd sure make mine speak easy. They'd know everything in our memories, and they'd know everything in our memory banks. They could wipe out what they don't want us to remember. It's almost the ultimate weapon. Almost makes sense, too, currently, doesn't it? A lot of the stuff, I know I'm correct, and I'm not arrogant, just passionate. Now, as if it matters, my mother has seen an animal she calls Jaws 15 years ago or so around the Peoria, Illinois area. She's also seen one in Indiana, but this incident I'll relay as the most detailed. She almost scoffs at all my encounters, so this is facts for her to tell me this. She just so happened to look over on a 35-mile-per-hour road on a driveway to an open field was a hyena, made of pure muscle. Short, gray-brown hair that conformed to its ridiculously strong and shorter rear legs. The main details were where it was as tall as a deer. It could catch and take down a deer no problem. Completely made of muscle. But its jowls were as big as a bull's. I'm paraphrasing. It was a definite predator. And apparently its hindquarter muscles and jowls muscles were unreal. Not to mention the deer-sized hyena in freaking Illinois. I asked if she thought it could walk bipedal. She said she doesn't think so, but if it did, it'd be well over 7 feet tall. Now I'd like to tell you about my Sasquatch encounter, and trust me, I take in every millisecond if I'm seeing something like spacecraft or the such, so this is exactly what happened. My ex and I were fighting as usual. I was pissed off, so I went and sat in my car looking at my phone at 3:30 a.m. There was a leaf moving. I'm in my car. There's a trailer to my diagonal right, 30 foot, with woods right behind it. My trailer is 10 foot behind me. I'm in my car sitting. I heard a wood knock from the left. It was apparent it was trying to be quiet. Immediately, I flipped my phone over on my leg and rolled my window all the way down. Then 10 minutes later, another quiet wood knock to my right. Okay, this is happening. 5 minutes later, I heard 2 pissed off huffs. I could hear the bass just from it expelling the air. I could hear the cheeks flapping. It was comparable to a horse, although the anger or disgust I could relate to a human. There was no subtlety. It was pissed. After the argument I had with my ex, I was too. I said that because I was more mad than scared, but those 2 huffs changed that for me. Almost 5 minutes later, I heard a cracking, as something is pulling or pushing a tree down or a huge limb. Excuse me. I heard the leaves and everything. It sounded like fireworks. Then, not 2 minutes later, I heard what I thought was my neighbor yelling at his dog 30 feet from my car. If you hear language, you associate it with a human. No, it started with a wooh. I literally didn't finish the thought that it was my neighbor. It was, who's talking? Holy shit. I could feel the bass reverberating off the trailer to my right, off my trailer behind me, in my freaking chest. If anything, I'm not exaggerating enough. It sounded exactly like a caveman. Maybe more like it sounded exactly what we think cavemen sounded like. It started with, whoa. Then he spoke about 5 or 6 sentences. I heard every syllable. There were upshifted inflations. There was inflection to what he was speaking about. This guy was speaking under his breath. I could feel the bass in my car from 30 or 40 feet away. He was trying to be quiet too. It was unreal. They have a language, a complex structure or dialect to transfer information. I didn't know if he knew I was there or didn't give a shit. I didn't smell anything. There were no other sounds. There were crickets, locusts. My senses were heightened when I heard the quiet tree cracks. I wrote it down on paper after I went to work that day and told every freaking person on my crew. I love to learn, and I love when my brothers and sisters want to understand what life really is. I've heard Sasquatch being compared to an individual with autism. We are the beings with the problems. There is as much and more than we could ever want to know, and we're living it, but we're too arrogant to think we can't see without our eyes. Graham Hancock said, "We're a species with amnesia." Absolutely agreeable. I'd like to add that it was probably restricted in our capabilities, like how were the perfect walls built, the boulders that seemed to be melted into each other. Well, the vibrated them until they were typos. Well, the vibrated them until they were malleable. Also, I figured out why there's no blood in cattle mutilation. It's because the vacuum of space will suck out every drop of liquid from your body. I may be wrong, but a wise man once said, "Take from it what you will." If there's a saying that can apply in your situation, it's a saying for a reason. You aren't the only one who has gone through this particular situation. Quote, "If you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its life forever thinking it's stupid." End quote. And that's the end of that interesting email. And here's some photos that I will add in. It looks like smoke rings, doesn't it? There's definitely something there in the sky. It's pretty wild, man. You're living quite the ride. You're living quite the ride. Digging and gathering and sharing. There's so many people that are so not even anywhere near there in their thoughts, wonderings, trying to figure out shit, even concerned to figure out shit, right? Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? So much in there. I can't comment on the whole thing. I'd have to read through it again and comment on it in between paragraphs. But the one part I believe it was about possibly, if maybe, a weapon which could be described as being able to erase certain memories from our minds, etc. You know, okay, here's the part where my brain doesn't mesh up with my mouth smoothly for others to pick up what I'm putting down, because I'm stumbling in my head trying to spit out what I'm thinking. But, you know, I posted up a share. There's that movie coming out, The Sound of Freedom. And there has been a lot of people for quite some time now trying to bring awareness to all of us about the children being taken, killed, raped, etc. And the majority of us look away, right? I proved that just the other day on the community page. I posted up a share of the current movies coming out to show the world the truth and how huge it is, and the very prominent global characters that are involved in it. But that topic only received like a few hundred people put the thumbs up, click the thumbs up on that link. Whereas, just a day earlier, I could post up, say, a picture of Sarah, the Great Big Salmon, and there'd be like 3,000 or 4,000. Yeah. Why is that? Why is that? Are we programmed, have we been programmed to look away when the most prolific, important, nasty violations of the human race are presented to us? Are we conditioned, possibly intentionally, to react by looking away and not giving it much attention? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I don't know if I'm getting across smoothly or not. I'm just saying, if there was, I've always said it before, I've said this for years, there is a recipe to use on humans as a species and training them. There is. I don't know the recipe, but it's apparent to me for quite some time now. There is a recipe, and only a small group of people have that recipe and they use it. Now, what if included in that recipe was the ability to make us focus on absolute garbage? Right? Instead of focusing on what really should be focused on by us, for us. I hope I'm making sense, you guys. Anyways, I've thought that for quite some time. I just don't get it, how there's so many crimes against humanity in our faces, and when those particular top 10 crimes are delivered to our eyes and ears, the majority of us tend to look away. Why is that? Right? Why is that? Anyway, I'm babbling. See, I don't need caffeine. Thanks for that email, man. Appreciate your email. Appreciate the fact you're passionate about these topics and you're digging. Please don't stop digging. I'm sure you won't. And email us back in when you can with something else you feel may help the people. There's a lot of people here that are listening, all right? And they do care. This fellow, hi Steve, I was just wondering your opinion on these footprints I found. I came across these a few weeks ago in the Castlegar area. A size comparison, my shoe size is a men's size 14, thanks Ian. Footprints, there's one photo. I think, is there? Oh, there's 3 photos, 1, 2. Okay, there's a couple different photos for sure. What do we got? All right, footprints are the toughest thing to photograph, especially on dirt and flat ground. It's just brutal, you know. And possibly, if for people out there who want to photograph prints accurately, possibly the way to do it would be to go back there in the evening, put a flashlight, a light source low on an angle, and take a picture of from above of the shadow that the footprints make. Okay, try that, because right now, if I just look at the very first photograph, I'm seeing the 2 heels of what, compared to your runner, that'd be the heels of a cow elk pointing in your direction. But excuse me, then there's no, then I can also tell there's more to it in the shape of possibly a large foot, making that maybe a 3-toed being, but the 3rd toe is missing. So first photo looks like an elk going this way, one print, but I wasn't there. This is all I'm seeing. Yeah, second one looks like a classic, possibly a classic photo that a Sabe being would leave in the ground. Third photo, I just can't see enough. For me, I can't see enough. Okay, I'm sorry, but I can't. The last 2 photos look like there's some kind of a toe. There you go. There you go. That's all I got for that, all right? But next time you come across Castlegars of British Columbia, you guys, just so you know, southeast BC. Yeah. Moving along, here's another one. Excuse me, another photo. This was found in Missouri, and no one can seem to identify it. Figured you've seen everything. Can you identify it? Marcia. I don't know if I've seen everything, but I've seen a lot. But we came across this quite a while, or a few years ago, a couple years ago. Somebody said they found an absolute crazy-ass skull in the middle of nowhere. Nothing like it. Figured it had to be Dogman. And then people started sending in, excuse me, variations that were very close, which were identical to this. And that is a funky dog, Rottweiler, somewhere along that breed. That's what that is, from what I have found out myself after being presented with a skull like that in the past. But people had me convinced it was something frickin' crazy until we looked into it deeper. That's a good thing. You don't know unless you share and ask, right? Yeah, what's this one? African Sabe encounter / green orb photo. African. Steve, I wrote to you about my experience in the Adirondack Mountains over a year ago. You read my story soon after that. I've watched all of your episodes and have since learned so much. Good news, man. Good news. I still don't understand why/how they know about Jesus, and just uttering his name carries so much power. Yeah, you know what? Here, on that note, I don't know why, I was thinking the other day, we've never had anybody write in and say they've rebuked him in the name of Buddha. Or they've rebuked him in the name of Allah. Or whoever else. Right? That's kind of, is that odd or not? I don't know, but we haven't. There's a lot of Buddhists out there. A lot of Muslims out there. Babbling. Sorry. It's very interesting how they seem forbidden from causing us harm, so they resort to scaring the crap out of us. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a bit of a piss-off. This brings me to my latest safari to Africa in August of 2022. I was hunting in the Drakensberg Mountains of South Africa at Black Leopard Camp. Accommodations were tents, set on raised platforms with about 3 feet of platform extending all around the tent. This camp is in a heavily forested area with elevation to 6,000 feet. The first night passed uneventful. On the second night, I was just falling asleep, and all of a sudden there was a loud thud as something very heavy landed on the platform. The entire platform shook. My tent was approximately 30 feet long and 15 feet wide. As soon as what was happening registered in my brain, whatever it was started running back and forth along the edge of the platform. It was definitely bipedal and made the 30-foot distance in about 4 strides. I knew what was happening, so first I recited the St. Michael's Prayer. By now it had run back and forth 3 or 4 times. Not real fast, but loud. Thump, 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 as it went back and forth. The prayer had no effect, and I was getting more nervous. I had no rifle in the tent, only a skinning knife. What? Bad move. Remembering some of your subscribers' encounters, I said aloud that I was a faithful Catholic man and I had given my life to Jesus. Steve, I am totally serious when I tell you that everything stopped in a matter of seconds, and nothing else happened for the rest of the trip. We hunted out of 2 more camps and I had no more encounters. Once I returned to the States, I got an image on my phone that I did not take. I was in Africa, August 3rd to 23rd, with 17 days of hunting. The photo I've included shows it was from Saturday, January 21st, and shows a thatched roof, jungle foliage, and a green orb in the lower right 1/3 of the photo. That picture was not there until I returned home and was not taken in January of 2022. I did not arrive in Africa until August 4th, 7 months later. What the F? Do you recognize anything in that photo, like on the land? Is it where you were? I wonder. Did I'll reread that. Sorry. We hunted to our camps. Once you return to the States, got an image of my phone to take. I was in Africa. The photo includes shows a thatched roof, jungle foliage, and a green orb. Okay, so you didn't say if that was the camp you're in either, right? My home is in upstate New York. My wife and I live on 5 acres with hardwoods and pines in our woods out back. Nothing unusual happened here until March or April of this year. I'm a very light sleeper, while my wife could sleep through a tornado. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up to 6 to 8 incredibly loud wood knocks. They sounded like they were just inside the wood line, 60 feet away. I grabbed a pistol and flashlight and went to our large picture window that faces the woods. I scanned the wood line and saw no eyeshine, nothing. 2 nights later, it happened again. Same results, nothing. By now I was pissed, knowing that if they wanted me dead, it would take them almost no effort. And from all the stories you've read, I truly believe that for some reason they cannot actually harm us without suffering serious repercussions. I walked through our woods and saw nothing out of the ordinary. No footprints, broken tree limbs, tree structures, nothing. A few nights went by and it happened again, only this time the knocks were even louder and continued for nearly a minute. Knowing what it was and what their intentions were, I said in a very angry mind speak, quote, "Tell your damn kids to knock that shit off," end quote. I've not heard anything since. Steve, a little bit about my background. I'm 60 years old, have 30 years, 11 months of military service, and I've had multiple sclerosis for over 7 years. I truly have no fear of these beings and also zero fear of dying. Since my Adirondack encounter on Snowy Mountain, I've wondered if I've been tagged. I'd love to know what you and your Howtohunt family thinks about this stuff. Go ahead and use my name, as most of my fellow citizens are mainly sheep. Our country is being ruined. Sorry it's so long, and thanks for what you do. Sincerely, Ted Dolly. I hope I pronounced that right, Ted. I butcher everybody's damn name. Dolly? It's not Daly, Dolly. D-A-L-Y. There's the photo. Let's have a look. Weird. It's a modern camp. There's a propane tank there, rock wall. Creepy. Alright, so South Africa. I think that's the first time we've heard from South Africa. We had another friend of ours emailed in about from the military going after rebels somewhere in Africa, I believe, and they had been tracking them for a few days, and a whole bunch of the rebels got annihilated in a swamp up ahead of them. One of them came running back for help to them, terrified. Don't know what annihilated those rebels and made them disappear. So I remember that from Africa. We've had another one. Somebody saw the naked, hairy man as a child in Africa in a school they're at. That was from Africa. There's two. So, not very common hearing from Africa. Maybe since you cracked this open, I wonder, well, I don't know if it would be from that area or not. Maybe it is just you. Maybe you are tagged. I don't know. If you've been listening to this channel long enough, you've heard of a lot of people speak of being tagged. Do I have tagged first-hand experience with being tagged? I don't think I do. Definitely don't have anything with anyone directly related to me discussing or sharing being tagged with me. Obviously you guys know I have the odd thing happen to me. It's odd. Very odd, because the time I spend out there, it's just the odd happening. It's not all the time. Because I am out there all the time. It's definitely not all the time, right? What the past 3 years I've had things thrown at me maybe 1, 2, 3 times. I sat on that log in the middle of nowhere here, and I couldn't sit there any longer. Remember that? That was steelhead fishing. That was winter. That was 2 years ago. And very, very nearby, where some native friends of mine have all had multiple experiences. And that happened to me. What else? Some other minor things. Anyway, enough about me. I believe, yeah, I can't, sorry man, I don't have the tag downs. I cannot, it's not like I'm a, I'm not a doctor of the unexplained. I can't give you a diagnosis, so I don't know. But it sounds like it just may be so. You never know. And so far it sounds harmless too, though, right? And who even knows if it's a Sasquatch, Sabe being that's doing these things? We don't know that for certain every single time, right? But there is a pattern. If you're in the footsteps, you're in the sounds like a bulldozer going through the trees, the tree knocks, the tree cracks, and not every time there's a visual sighting. So you can't say that was the culprit, right? Don't know. Don't know. Anyway, watch the comment section below and keep watching all the videos and listening to the people speak. That's definitely going to help you along your way, right? Because that's all we got. That's all we have is each other and the people. It's funny, that email before this one, the man who's really digging, mentioning about scientists. Well, I had an instant thought. Haven't scientists discredited themselves completely across the board, basically, in a way? Scientists have been proven to be paid off by the power mongers to stop true facts of, say, poisons, what may or may not be climate change, warming, all sorts of things, right? Scientists have been paid off to suppress or change information. That is very easily, those receipts are very easily found. You can do it yourself anytime you want. Modern day scientists today have lost their credibility with me. Take from what you will or leave it. I don't give a shit. If you tell me you're a scientist, a biologist, the Queen of England, I don't give a shit what you put in front of your first name. 0. That's just me. But I got 0 for a credential put in front of you given name. At this point of the game, for me, yeah, no, it doesn't do anything. I'm babbling. Maybe I should have coffee. Maybe it slows me down. Yeah. It's like as soon as somebody is caught blatantly lying to you, to me, I'm done. I'm done. Moving along. I don't have any time for you. I gotta go forward. You're keeping me backwards. I'm moving forward. So, another thing too is you can easily dig up the receipts for this. Fact is, scientists are on the hit list globally. They always have been. And true, honest scientists have been murdered. To be silenced. So, what does it take to be a successful, honest scientist today? Obviously, it takes get in line. Right? Get in line or else. That's what it takes today. Sad, isn't it? Now, I've probably babbled enough, and it's starting to get warm out, and I got a bunch of stuff I need to do outside before it gets smoking hot. And it is smoking hot. But anyways, on the end note, you guys should possibly take a look at, completely off topic, I caught it this morning on my feed. What's it called? The MSG Sphere in Las Vegas. Have you seen that friggin' creation? It's pretty crazy. They launched it on the 4th of July evening, I guess. Google that up on YouTube or wherever. The MSG Sphere in Las Vegas. Quite the item. Anyway, I'll be back later. Apparently... Bye.